Today on Community Connections, I have the newly elected senator from the 11th District, Vin Gopal. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you for having me.
You are the newly elected senator. How does that feel?
You know, it feels really good. It's been a long year, and I had a great time knocking on, at the end, it was over 7,500 doors. And
That's a lot of doors.
A lot of doors. And
Sore knuckles.
Sore knuckles. And sometimes the weather was a little chilly.
Right.
And through rain and heat and everything, and it really was a great experience.
Was there a moment before election night you started to think, I got this, we're going to win? Or was it right up until the polls closed and the numbers came in?
You're always obviously nervous, and I've liked, known, and respected Senator Beck for a long time, and one thing that everybody knows about her is she's a tenacious hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
She's had a history. She's won tough races in Red Bank, which
Yes.
is an all-Democratic town. Tough race for assembly. She beat a senator. So in that sense, when I started the race, a lot of people were like, oh, Vin, you're running against a really tough opponent. So in that sense, it's always in the back of your mind. So until the numbers really started coming through and we saw that we won Ocean Township and we're winning towns that traditionally Democrats didn't win,
Mm-hmm.
that we had a chance. But at the end of the day, all you can do is work as hard as possible.
When you, at the end, I mean, I've had almost every election, the night before, I'm like, I can't believe it's over, but everything sort of drains out election night and there's nothing much left. You're sitting there and the numbers come in. What were you thinking? You're a young guy to hold a big office.
Got to get to work. Got to get to
answer.
work. Actually, the next 3 days were the tough days because, when your energy level, and you've been through it, it's at a high, and then you just nothing the next day, and you got to figure out what to do. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things with every campaign is there's something going on every minute of every day.
Yep.
And every now and then I have to pull myself away from that. You've got a business to run, you've got other commitments, and you're campaigning hard. And you campaigned a long time. And
Yep.
what I kept hearing is, oh, we're seeing them all over the place, which is what you like to hear. You think Democrats did well.
Yeah.
Top of the ticket down in Monmouth County, or at least in the assembly races. How do you think it's going to be when you go to Trenton? You see this new agenda coming out with Phil Murphy?
Yeah, look, I think there's a unique opportunity. I think being in the minority anywhere, whether it's in the legislature, on a council in a town, it's always difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a unique opportunity where the party, my party, Democratic Party, has the governor's office with a governor who's from Monmouth County, as well as big majorities in the Senate and the Assembly. So I feel confident that we can get a lot of the things done that I talked about, like the school district regionalization, some of the municipal consolidation for places like Lock Harbor and Allenhurst. A lot of these things that has been lingering for a long time, I think we will get consensus on it.
You mentioned Lock Harbor. What is your district? Because I think people hear 11th
Sure.
District, I think, okay, I don't think much out of Long Branch. I don't.
It's understandable.
I don't cross those boundaries very
Yeah.
often. But you've got kind of it's an interesting district.
So I was born in one end of the district, Jersey Shore Medical Center in Neptune, and I grew up at the other end of the district, Freehold, and now I live in Long Branch. So the district goes as west as Freehold, Colts Neck, and then it goes towards Shrewsbury, Tinton Falls, Red Bank, Eatontown, and then over to the shore, Ocean Township, Long Branch, Asbury, and it goes all the way as south as Neptune
So
City.
Neptune is one border, and what's the northern border on the coast?
Long Branch. Yeah,
And
Monmouth Beach is a different district.
And then you start going out west all
Yeah.
the way to your old homestead.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a fascinating district because you have a huge agriculture industry out in Freehold, Colts Neck, and just so many different interests in the 18 towns that are there.
You know exactly how many towns it is.
Yeah, yes, I do.
You spend time in every one?
Yeah, immediately after the election happened, I made an effort to try to get to know those I didn't know. For example, Cold Snack, I sat down with the mayor there. It's a Republican town.
Right.
Freehold Township, reached out to as many superintendents as possible and said, listen, forget politics. I'm here for the next 4 years. Doesn't matter, Democrat, Republican. Tell me what you need to be successful. And that's what I'm trying to take that approach, because really this is a unique next 2 years for me where I really want to get stuff done and not worry about politics.
You've never held elected
No.
office, but you were the county chairman.
Yes.
How old were you when you were elected to that
I
position?
was 27.
Which raises my next question. What made you think at that age you wanted to be involved in politics? When I got elected at a fairly young age, 35.
Yeah.
At 27, I thought people involved in local
Yeah.
politics were crazy.
35, mayor or council?
Mayor.
Mayor, okay, but you're younger when you're council, right?
A little bit.
So look, I think you're seeing a lot of folks that are a little younger getting elected, and we're seeing different legislators. We have council people now in Red Bank who are 27, 28. New council president in Eatontown, a young woman, Patty May, she's 30 years old. So I think we're starting. I've always been interested in politics, running a small business. I always saw the state really being unfair when it came to ordinances, signed ordinances. Sometimes I blamed the town. They were Republican and Democratic towns. And so I really wanted to start to see how I can affect public policy, and there's nowhere better to do it than local and county politics. So while most of my friends who were interested in policy, they were more worried about what was going on at the national level, I was always interested in local and state. And, you know, the Democratic Party at that time was kind of at a low point. They lost all their freeholder seats. They were at a record low number of mayors. And this was a unique opportunity, I thought, for me to not just try to run the party, but also to find good candidates. And over the last number of years, we've had 8 new Democratic mayors. And some of these people are really, you know, it's so much fun working with them and working on their agendas. So, but it was a volunteer job that was completely thankless. And every town was always a little unhappy, and so I talked to the Republican chair when at the time it was John Bennett, and then later Sean Golden, and we always made sure we had a good relationship and shared stories, because it really is a tough job to try to please everybody.
Well, no, you don't try to please everybody. You know, one of the
53 towns.
you don't try to please everybody. That will never work.
Yeah.
I can't do it in Long Branch. It's never been my goal. Well, you went from county chairman and you said, okay, now I want to be a candidate for office. What spurred that
Well,
on?
first thing I did is I really am opposed to elected officials who serve as county chairs, and there's a number of those, and it's a disagreement I have with Sean, but there's been Democratic county chairs in other counties that do that. So the first thing I did, I resigned. I resigned early in the year and said, listen, I don't want there to be any...
Early 2017.
Yeah, before I announced, I resigned, and I said, listen, somebody deserves to do this who's gonna focus on it. And then really just thought, this is a unique time in New Jersey where we have so many challenges. And as a business owner, I still talk to folks in Long Branch and Asbury who got hurt from the urban enterprise zone funding that they lost because some towns outside of this area abused it, right? So there's just so much public policy like that and so much that we're able to do that I would love to just go in and jump in. Another thing I've worked on since I got elected is I've had meetings with a number of Republican senators and Democratic senators, ones I don't know, just to simply build a relationship and try to work together. And really everybody's been really gracious, and you know, people want to continue to live in New Jersey. They want their kids to live here, but people are moving out every day because of how expensive it is.
You know, we're looking at soon-to-be Governor Murphy. You know, he's going to have to tackle, you know, we've got a huge pension problem, we've got a huge property tax problem, amongst other things. And he's got to figure out how to navigate a fairly contentious relationship between various state senators and assemblymen that our current governors had issues with. How do you see that going so far?
You know, the governor-elect, I am really optimistic about him for the reason because you know, we were at his house yesterday, and when I say we, all of the Republican legislators in the state and all the Democratic legislators. So he had everybody at his home last night with a simple message. Senate Leader Tom Kaine and the Assembly Democratic Speaker, incumbent Craig Coughlin, say, let's work together. Let's find where we agree. We don't have to yell and scream at each other. Let's see what's important. I think that was a a great sign. He could have just invited the Democratic legislators. He didn't do that, and he's really, I think, making an effort. He has an amazing personality. You've met him.
Yes.
And he's very warm, and he's very outgoing, and I think hopefully that'll serve him well. He's always been successful in every other aspect of his life. This is obviously a little different. He's never held any type of elected office, but he's got good people around him. His chief of staff, Pete Camerano, it was the mayor of Metuchen. He just stepped down and really knows government in and out. So I think he's got some good folks, and I think he's going to have to hopefully find his way to making some positive policies.
What's your first goal? You know, you talked about some of the issues and talking
Yeah.
to the superintendents. Is there any pet project you
Well,
want to go to work on
There are
quickly?
a few important things. One is the school funding. Obviously, to start making sure that some of these towns that have adjustment aid and other things to start looking to make sure that nobody gets hurt severely as the governor and his education team do a new school funding formula. But one of the things that's actually important to me that might surprise some people is the $15 minimum wage. I'm very concerned about it.
Pro or con?
I'm against it. Like,
Okay.
I'm very against it because there are a number of mom and pops who could really suffer from it. You know, I met a business owner who owns an ice cream parlor, and he shows his tax return. He makes $42,000 a year. Kids don't show up on a Saturday morning. He's sitting there scooping ice cream. So this is a policy initiative that the governor-elect and the Democratic leadership are in favor, but this is where I find myself that I have the ability to hopefully be effective. And I've had a number of conversations with them to talk about exemptions, to talk about, you know, you can't treat a Walmart that has 800 employees the same as a coffee shop in Asbury Park that has 4 employees. So I don't believe any piece of legislation that's done should be broad-based. It just affects the entire state, and you have to have carve-outs. You have to take care of certain industries. You have to do studies every year to see how it's affecting the economy. You know, many business owners, you're a business owner, many business owners put money into their business every year. That doesn't get taken into consideration anywhere. So these are all the things that I'm hopeful that the legislature and the governor will take into account. And so why I say that's an important issue, because I think that's going to be one of the first ones that are going to come up.
You've got your own relatively small business. What is it?
So I have 16 employees now. We do marketing for mostly urgent care centers, some private companies, and we own and operate 2 magazines that have been in existence for about 10 years in the Colts Neck, Homedale area.
What kind of magazines?
They're called Community Magazine. They cover home reviews, garden reviews. They have a pet section, and they've been there for, you know, every month they mail to Colts Neck, Homedale. We have an edition in Rumson, Little Silver. And just like Feel Good Magazine, we cover a lot of kids, sporting events, things like that. So
a little bit different than a weekly paper, but the same idea.
Same idea, nothing controversial. They don't cover any politics.
No politics.
No politics.
People still read them.
They say, yes, yeah. No council meetings. They don't cover anything like that. You know, in Colts Neck, we'll have a controversial issue here or there, but we try to focus on a lot of the good residents that have lived there and talk about their stories and their businesses. So, and we have, you know, over 150 advertisers, and the people in those towns really like it. It's a product we're proud of, but I have to tell you, when I started that business 10 years ago, I had employees. Nobody was making anywhere close to $15. If I had a $15 minimum wage at that time, I would not have lasted a second year. I had additional jobs to pay for that business to run. And now, fortunately, today, all of my employees do well. They have 401ks, they have health care, they have benefits. And I just don't think that would have been the case if that $15 minimum wage was there. So I know there's so many people in this state, in this county, that need it, and even at 15, that's still not a livable wage. No. I just want to see public policy that affects everybody in a fair way, and that's all I'm looking for.
We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back for the second half.
Great.
Your seat cushion can be used to grant wishes.
Who said that? Hello?
Really can, you know.
You talking to me?
Sure am. Because the airline miles you earn and donate to Make-A-Wish can help send thousands of kids on their wish trips. So donate to Make-A-Wish today.
You really should, you know. You really should.
And give wishes wings, because wishes work wonders.
So you get sworn in. We're back for the second half of the show. You get sworn in January 9th. Big ceremony? Whole family's coming?
Yeah, they don't give a lot of tickets, but my parents are going to be there, and we're going to be doing a reception at night in Asbury, which is open to everybody to come and kind of join in. So yeah, I'm very excited, and I just love a lot of the towns like Long Branch, Asbury, so much promise. And
Are you the youngest incoming senator?
yes,
By a lot?
I am definitely on the younger side. Yes,
On the younger side, or you are the youngest?
I am the youngest state senator.
And now you are also the first person of
First
Indian.
first person of South Asian descent, Indian subcontinent, and in the Senate in New Jersey history. So
Now your
definitely.
parents still live in Freehold Township or Colts Neck?
They're in Colts Neck now. Yep.
And both are doctors, or one?
Both are physicians. My parents came here in the 1960s. There was actually a shortage of doctors due to the Vietnam War, so they're getting doctors from other countries, and that's how my parents came here, and they've been in Monmouth County since then.
Are they still practicing physicians?
My dad practices in Homedale. My mom practices in Central State, Freehold.
Did you ever want to be a doctor?
I thought about it. You have to do a little better with the grades. And I was more veering towards history and English instead of math and
All
science.
those nice
so,
liberal arts. And they didn't
Yeah.
push you to law school.
they pushed. I just didn't succeed.
Okay.
You know, I think they finally stopped giving me some heat about it.
Brothers
recently.
and sisters?
I have an older brother. He's a journalist in New York.
And is he going to come down and watch you get sworn in too?
I hope so. Yep, he should be.
Now, one of the issues that incoming Governor Murphy's been pushing is legalization of marijuana. You have a position on that?
You know, this is actually an issue that I've really spent a lot of time studying, and I support the legalization of marijuana, but I want to see it done the right way. We've seen now several states like California, Colorado that have done this, and we need to take our time, look at the positives and the negatives. You know, the amount of damage we've seen alcohol do on people, nicotine do on people. All studies that we've seen, that my staff has seen, that I've seen, there is no reason to believe that marijuana is a gateway drug to another drug. We also have the ability to save billions of dollars in our criminal justice system, where we can actually focus our law enforcement on murderers, rapists, people that commit violent crimes, and save money from those who are smoking marijuana. So like any legislation, it needs to be done responsibly, it needs to be done the right way, it needs to be done thoughtfully, but I think as a country, we've wasted billions of dollars on locking up people who are not violent criminals.
I agree with you there. Are there any projections yet on revenue? Because when I read stuff about it, what became clear to me is the amount of revenue being generated in the states that you've mentioned. And it's happening in Vermont, it's happening in Massachusetts, and other states. It's a tremendous revenue generator, and there's no question New Jersey needs money, but I don't think it solves all our problems.
No, I agree. I don't think so. I've seen some that say 700 million, others up to $1 billion, but I don't think that's the right reason to do it. For me, it's not about revenue.
Okay.
I just think it's the right thing to do. We have so many people whose futures get screwed up, and there's actually a state legislator, a state senator who is a supporter of this, Nick Scutari from Union County, and
He's been promoting it for a while.
He's been promoting, and he's actually putting in legislation to outlaw alcohol to try to convince some of his Senate colleagues to think twice. So I think there is some strong feelings on this issue, and there's a lot of Democratic senators who are dead set against it. So it'll be interesting to see.
The governor promised 100 days. You think he's going to get there with it?
He's going to have to work. He's going to have to lobby those legislators that are not in favor. I think a lot of the same rationale I gave, I think the governor did too. I don't think it's a revenue. I mean, the revenue is nice, but that's not the reason. It's a criminal justice issue.
Are you starting to look at, I mean, I'm assuming, so let me ask instead of assuming, starting to study some of the other issues? 'Cause I mean, one of the things that bothers me a lot is someday we're going to have to reckon with the pension
Oh, yeah.
issue. There's a big shortfall. Starting to study these things, and do they have classes for incoming senators?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we have to, unfortunately. And I talk to a lot. I have a great relationship with our local police departments and our PBAs, and I've told them we've got some of these towns. A recent article came out in the Star Ledger talking about the 20 smallest towns with police departments, and they acknowledge that this is going to be a course with 565 towns with deep pension issues, deep healthcare issues. We'll have to redo it. And for me, I want to do everything we can to protect current employees, but I think for future employees entering the workforce, we have to seek a different path. And I think there's, without a doubt, we have to do it. Otherwise, the state's going to go broke.
We've been talking about this, and a lot of these issues you know, they've been on the table as long as I've been in office, and they kick the can down the road seems to be the model. I mean, Governor Christie bragged early on, I've got pension reform. Didn't really last.
No, it didn't last. You know, even when we look at this sick pay, everything I think is compromise, right? In politics, you have to compromise when you have divided forces. So we look at the sick pay, which my now predecessor, the current Senator Jen Beck, actually did a good job on, where people were cashing out multiple, you know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, all this money. And the governor was, the legislature was willing to give a compromise of a cap at 15,000,
Right.
and Governor Christie vetoed it. Like, you can't get zero, both sides can't, but because he didn't do that legislation at 15,000, we've now seen police chiefs and superintendents take it.
We still have a few employees when they leave are entitled
And
to the
they're
big
entitled,
paydays.
and it's not their fault.
No,
I
it's
mean,
not.
they're playing by the rules that are given to them. It's the lawmakers who are at fault.
One of the things I look at, you know, I have obviously a very local perspective on these things. We follow the rules, whatever they may be, whatever the issue is, that's our job, and we
Yep.
do it. And then we get lambasted for it, be it in the press or by one time it was the state auditor, and I'm just looking at him
No,
going, he doesn't have a clue.
It's the elected officials who, if
Be
they don't
accountable.
change the rules, they need
Right.
to change the rules, and you can't blame any employee for following the rules.
Or seeking whatever his maximum pay might be. 'Cause
Completely.
Fair question would be, who would do it differently if it was, if you could cash, you know, I haven't taken a sick day in a couple of years.
Yeah.
If I got paid sick days, why wouldn't I want to take them home at the end of my career?
I completely agree, and I think this has been a failure of politicians in both parties, Democrats, Republicans, and we got to make it right, and I don't think we should hurt current people in the workforce. I think for future employees entering in, you want to make sure that you get the best qualified employees, give them the best options possible, but it's got to be done in a way that's fiscally responsible for the state.
How about a cap on interest arbitration awards?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we have to see what's going to happen
It's
here.
pending right as we
It's
speak.
pending right now, and I think studies have shown that a cap is likely to be needed.
Well,
so
I'll lobby you right now because, well, I actually,
I'm not in the legislature.
you will be soon enough. I'll call you then. No, it's people don't. I mean, the average citizen doesn't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah. It's a
But
big issue.
It's a
and
big
it's
issue.
that-
Uniformed public safety officials go to arbitration.
Yep.
They put a cap on how much they could award consistent with the cap levy.
Yep.
So they could only get 2%. It saved me.
It's
It saved me legal fees. It saved me negotiation time. It ended the argument, and the raises fell into place according to other conditions. It's about to expire.
a standard increase,
Yeah.
2%.
And that, and property taxes, the increase was kept under
This
control.
is going to be a key moment for the Senate President and the Governor-elect, and if they don't deal with it, or the current governor now, if they don't deal with it now, it's expiring, I believe, at the end of the year, right? January 1st.
I mean, I think it should be the first issue on the table in January. If it's not, if some compromise isn't reached.
Resolve some way, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But you know, New Jersey, you know, we're doing this in December. Nobody has a clue how bad the federal tax cut. Call it a tax cut. I call it, you know, something closer to
Bad
a
for New
disaster.
Jersey.
It's bad for New Jersey. You starting to read up on that?
Yeah, there's you know, a few good things actually in there, but a lot of bad things, especially this $10,000 you know, the deduction. You know, and I actually was even talking to my own accountant yesterday, and like, this is, you know, a lot of things that New Jersey residents have been taking for granted for years
Right.
and years and years on making deductions. This is really, actually, it's going to really hurt middle-class families, people right in the middle. So it's unfortunate. I was happy to see that most of the New Jersey Congress people, Republicans,
All
voted
but one.
against it. All but one. Yeah, Chris Smith voted against it. I think one down south didn't.
MacArthur.
So, you know, these are really, it doesn't matter, I don't think you're Democrat, Republican at these times. These are turbulent times, and there's just so much uneasiness at the federal government.
You see the future for the Democrats. You know, you know, most people, well, actually a lot of people don't know that I'm a Democrat. That's my long branch history.
Nonpartisan town.
Yeah, but on some issues we're not nonpartisan at all. But, you know, Democrats seem to be trending up again.
They are.
What do you see?
I see that you know, one of the reasons I enjoyed being county chair, Democratic Party needs better messengers, I think, and they can't be defined as a party that just wants to spend everyone's money. I think as long as that happens, as long as their initial inclination is, what tax am I going to raise, the Democratic Party is doomed, and they need to start looking at fiscally responsible choices for middle-class families. And
Well, let me throw something out then.
sure.
This new budget coming out of Washington and the tax cut, we're cutting taxes and also raising the deficit. So what has happened is Democrats come in and they have to fix these problems. How do you avoid being labeled as you
They
just
gotta
want to
be
raise more
loud
taxes?
right now. I mean,
Okay.
the Republicans attacked Obama for years for raising the deficit. And you look at this plan, it's going to raise the deficit significantly.
Right.
And there needs to be a strong message and a strong voice that's out there.
Anybody-
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, that you sort of answered the question then, which was, who do you see who can deliver that message for the Democrats that you like listening to? Do you have somebody?
Listen, I am from born and raised in New Jersey, so I have a natural preference for my senator, Cory Booker. I think he's done a very effective job.
Did a nice job down in Alabama helping out.
He did that, and he even on the criminal justice issue on marijuana, he's talked about that, and he's really been going hard at some of these issues. But I think that we need good messengers, and sometimes it's healthy to get some new faces in there. And I think that was the problem when we saw the Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders. I would have been nice to see other good candidates running in that
Younger
race.
people, you think?
Not necessarily younger, but maybe somebody who has not been, just crucified by the press for 20 years. I would like to see. We have so many talented governors and senators and congresspeople. I hope
And mayors.
And mayors, yeah. And I hope to see 2020 as a
Well,
really optimistic time.
You and I are actually a different generation. I'm 30 years older than you. How do we get young people more engaged? Or do you think, no, young people are engaged. They're interested. They know.
I think it goes back to the messenger.
Okay.
We saw young people getting excited by Bernie Sanders,
Yeah.
and he had a message that was able to captivate them. And I think, the frustration, not to rehash a presidential election that ended, but when you saw Hillary Clinton come out and kind of make a joke about how I'm going to wipe the screen off the emails and some of the joke, like it didn't show a connection. And you have to have candidates that actually care, not just show they care, but actually care and have some kind of connection to the electorate they want to represent, and not just the worst thing I've seen under this Republican legislature. I think the singular reason why my opponent lost is when Chris Christie, she didn't differentiate herself. So for me, if Phil Murphy's wrong on something, I'm going to work against him. And you can't let the head of a party, you can't let the governor or president of anybody just control elected officials. And elected officials have to be worried about losing. If I go in for the next 4 years and I do the right thing and I work hard for the people and I don't get reelected because I take principled stands, then I have to be able to go on with the rest of my life. It can't be a
You
career.
won't have a choice if you lose.
Yes, but you can't just worry about, I got to take this vote because I got to please this person or that person. You can't. It doesn't work that way. And I give you an example. On this $15 minimum wage, it actually polls over 70% want it in this district, in the 11th district. I'm against it
Okay.
because I see it's going to hurt people, and that's why I believe that there can be a compromise bill that you can do that helps everybody.
Have they started talking about what committees you're going to be on?
Not yet. I've asked for something to deal with the economy, commerce, economic development, and there are a couple new senators. I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage because every other new senator neighboring, Declan O'Scanlan and Joe Cryan and Troy Singleton, have all been in the assembly, so they've been in the legislature.
They leap ahead of you a little bit.
They have a little bit of advantage, and I'm very rare that someone goes straight to the Senate.
Well, we'll bring you back as a guest in about a year, and you'll tell us how it's gone. Thank
That
you
would be
very
great.
much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good to see you.